At the beginning of the movie, we see a Portuguese mansion. Inside, a woman named Amelia is preparing milk in a baby bottle, but before feeding it, she adds a few drops of a chemical. She then picks up one of her babies in her arms. Meanwhile, two strangers, a man and a woman, enter the mansion and hears a baby crying. Amelia walks into a room carrying one child, while the other baby is already there. She takes one baby out of the room, and in that moment, the strange woman seizes the other child and quickly runs outside, placing the baby in her car before getting inside herself. Unaware of this, Amelia tries to put her other baby to sleep. The strange man then sneaks in, attempting to kidnap the second child. Just then, Amelia notices a car parked outside through the window. Just then, the man grabs the baby. Amelia turns around, sees him, and immediately rushes after him. As she screams, her eyes turn milky white. Meanwhile, the woman outside hears the commotion and gets ready to leave. She sees Amelia rushing out with a baby in her arms, trying to stop the car carrying her other child, but the woman drives off. Later, it is revealed that the woman abandoned the kidnapped baby, leaving the child alone.
Like, comment, subscribe to Recapss Horror.
Time passes, and the kidnapped baby has now grown into a man named Edward. One day, he receives a call from a foster home in response to his online request for information about his biological parents. They inform him that they went through his admission records, but the only details listed were his weight and size at the time. His date of birth was unknown, and there was no contact information for his parents. The scene then shifts to Edward's girlfriend Riley, celebrating his birthday. Edward admits to her that it probably isn't even his real birthday. Riley gives him a present, a gene detector. She installs its app on his phone. It explains that he needs to place his finger on the reader, which will collect a micro droplet of blood and analyze his DNA. Later that night, while Edward is asleep, he dreams of something unsettling. Suddenly, he wakes up from his sleep. After that, he is shown brushing his teeth when a notification pops up on his phone, informing him that a DNA match has been found with a man named Manuel. Just then, he feels a strange presence. Turning toward the corner of the room, he sees a figure standing there. Terrified, he watches as the figure vanishes instantly. The next day, Edward tells Riley about his DNA connection with Manuel. She encourages him to call, but Edward admits he's nervous. Moments later, he receives a message from Manuel, asking if he wants to talk. Edward calls him, and their conversation starts awkwardly. Manuel asks his age, and Edward replies to call him Ed and that he is 31. Manuel then reveals that he once had a twin who was kidnapped as a baby, and their mother has been searching for him ever since. Ed realizes he is that missing child. Without wasting any time, Ed leaves for Portugal with Riley. Along the way, they admire the country's beauty, but midway their GPS connection cuts out. Deciding to ask for directions, they stop at a couple's fruit stall. Riley steps out of the car and shows them a picture of the mansion, asking if they know its location. The woman's expression immediately changes. Her husband, noticing this, asks what it is. She quietly replies, "That's Amelia's house." The moment he hears this, the husband angrily tells Riley to leave at once. As Ed and Riley drive away, the couple continues to stare after them. Later, we see that somehow they manage to reach the mansion, and both of them are delighted to see it. Just then, Manuel comes outside, and Ed and Manuel hug each other before he takes them inside. Both brothers look exactly the same. He shows them around the house and introduces Riley to his pet birds. While looking around, Ed notices a picture of Amelia and Riley, comments that she looks beautiful. Manuel then shows them a painting of their great-great-grandmother Beatriz, who looks exactly like Amelia. Ed asks if their mother is around. Manuel says she isn't feeling well today, and that it would be better if he meets her tomorrow. Later, early in the morning, Manuel comes into their room, wakes Ed and asks, "Do you want to meet Mom?" The two are then seen walking towards Amelia's room. As Manuel enters, Ed hears Amelia whimpering and notices that his mother looks different. He approaches, holds her hand, and Amelia says she has been waiting for him for so long. They hug and begin sobbing. She tells him he looks perfect and kisses him on the forehead. Next, Riley wakes up and Ed tells her that he met his mother that morning. He says it was beautiful, but admits he was a little freaked out by her. Riley asks why, and he replies that it was strange. She seemed to have had a little too much work done on her face. Later, Riley is seen sketching on a pad when Amelia suddenly appears behind her and says hello, startling her. As they continue talking, Riley finds Amelia a little odd. When Riley is about to leave, Amelia compliments her lips, which makes Riley feel even more uneasy. That same night, Manuel and Amelia are shown lying on a bed. Amelia asks him if he finds Riley beautiful. Manuel replies that Amelia is the most beautiful woman ever. She asks if he is sad, and he says he wishes it could be him. The scene then cuts to Amelia in the bathroom. When she comes out, Riley overhears Amelia and Manuel talking. Since they are speaking in Portuguese, Riley uses the voice translator on her phone. She hears Amelia saying, "If you could have children, you would be my chosen son. I can't wait to feel young again." Manuel then suddenly says, "She's listening." Startled, Riley quickly leaves and rushes back to her room. Later, she tells Ed that she overheard something really disturbing and that she believes Manuel and Amelia are sleeping together. Ed asks if she is sure. She insists she is, but Ed doesn't seem too surprised by the revelation. The next morning, Riley is working out in the open air, while Amelia watches her through a window, smiling. Later, Ed hears voices and comes downstairs to find Amelia speaking with her advocates. Amelia calls Ed over and introduces him to them as her new boyfriend, while introducing the advocates as her slaves. The advocates explain that they represent his mother's estate, and according to her wishes, they are formalizing him as a co-beneficiary, along with Manuel, to all her assets, currently valued at 65 million euros. They ask Ed to sign some documents to start the process. They assure him it's just a pro forma, giving them power of attorney to handle the legal matters, and advise him to remain in Portugal for the month since Portuguese bureaucracy is quite slow. Amelia adds that she prefers he keeps this a secret. Ed agrees and signs the papers. The scene then shifts to Riley calling her friend Jay. She tells Jay that they are in the middle of a forest, staying in a remote palazzo. While talking, Riley opens a trunk and suddenly loses connection. Inside the trunk, she finds some old photographs. One shows a family. Just then, Manuel arrives and Riley quickly shuts the trunk. Later that night, while Riley is sleeping, she hears her door creak open. She wakes up and turns to check. At that moment, she hears a baby crying. Curious, she gets out of bed and follows the sound. Suddenly, she sees a woman standing in front of her, who then walks away. Riley follows as the baby's cries continue. The woman looks back at Riley before entering a room. Riley approaches, slightly opens the door, and sees a crib inside with no baby in it. Suddenly, someone grabs her hand and she jolts awake. She then hears another sound, and frightened, she looks behind her to see Amelia sitting there, holding Riley's underwear from her open suitcase. Riley breathes heavily in shock. Amelia then turns her head toward her, her eyes milky white. Terrified, Riley watches as Amelia starts crawling toward her, when suddenly, Riley jolts awake again, gasping for breath. Then she notices her suitcase is actually open, which shocks her even more. Later, Riley is seen in the woods, again on a call with her friend Jay. She tells her about the nightmare and how her suitcase was literally reorganized, as if Amelia had come during the night and folded her underwear. Jay says that's creepy and suggests she leave the place as soon as possible. Riley replies that she'll first have to convince Ed. Meanwhile, Ed is seen searching for Riley around the house when he notices a distant cottage. He hears a baby crying. The door creaks open a little as the crying continues. Ed cautiously steps inside. Suddenly, he sees something moving, which terrifies him. He then gets a vision of a baby being drowned in water and faints on the spot. Next, we see Manuel mixes chemical drops into 2 cups. He gives one to Ed, sits across from him, and calmly asks him to close his eyes. As Ed obeys, Manuel's eyes turn milky white, and Ed sees visions of Amelia, first cradling a baby, then holding a bleeding one. When Ed opens his eyes, Manuel claims he sees the same visions and urges him to continue. Ed then witnesses disturbing images of Amelia with dead babies and suddenly sees Riley before him. Through her form, Manuel says, "We have a gift, brother." Frightened, Ed pleads for it to stop, but Manuel laughs before finally calming him with a hug. Meanwhile, Riley researches the mansion online and finds articles about a Portuguese witch. She comes across a painting of a woman consuming her own baby. At that moment, Ed enters the room. Riley tries to initiate intimacy, but Ed says he's not in the mood. She then tells him they should leave, admitting that she doesn't feel comfortable in the house and that the people there are strange. She insists they're not really his family, but Ed becomes angry and starts verbally abusing her. Hurt, Riley snaps back, unaware that Manuel is listening to their fight from outside. The next morning, Riley confides in Jay. She explains what she found online, that the mansion once belonged to a Portuguese witch. While talking, she spots the fruit vendor woman Vieira, whom she and Ed had met earlier. The scene then cuts to Manuel waking Ed and telling him to come see Mommy dancing. Together, they go to the living area, where they find Amelia dancing. Soon, she begins dancing with Ed, her movements oddly sensual. Manuel joins them, and she hugs both of them. Meanwhile, Riley looks at a picture and asks Vieira if the man in it is Manuel. Vieira replies that it's Arthur, Manuel's father, and the woman with him is her daughter, who loved Arthur. Vieira explains, in Portuguese, which Riley translates on her phone, that her daughter once told her Arthur's mother was a witch. To gain eternal youth, she bore children with her own sons, but whenever she had daughters, she killed them. Vieira reveals that her daughter claimed Amelia had locked Arthur in the basement and tortured him, and that she intended to free him. But in reality, her daughter never returned. Later, Riley returns to the mansion and finds Amelia, Manuel, and Ed dancing happily together. When Ed notices her, he invites her to join, but Riley insists they need to talk. Amelia becomes upset, accusing Riley of ruining the moment. Tearfully, she says Riley makes her want to cry and claims she's trying to take her boys away from her. Upset, Riley storms off, and after some hesitation, Ed follows her. Outside, Riley discovers that Manuel has blocked their car with his own. Riley then takes Ed to Vieira's house. At the same time, Manuel is seen heading somewhere with a knife. Riley knocks on Vieira's door, calling out to her, but there's no response. She sneaks in through a window, only to find the house empty. Grabbing some photos from the table, she comes back outside and shows them to Ed. Pictures of Arthur and Vieira's daughter. She tells Ed that Arthur is his father. Shocked, Ed says Arthur looks just like Manuel. Riley points out that Manuel and Amelia never talk about his father, and that there are no pictures of him in the house. When they return to the mansion, Amelia and Manuel secretly overhear their conversation. The scene then cuts to Riley packing her suitcase. She insists that Ed must leave with her. Just then, Manuel enters the room and notices the packed bags. Riley grabs hers and tells him to move his car. Manuel calmly replies that he already has. Riley then tells Ed she'll be waiting for him in the car outside. Riley gets into the car and removes the Do Not Disturb mode. She finds a message from Dr. Sunderson of Ancestry Genetics, the company behind the gene detection device. The message notes that she has Riley's number as a secondary contact for Ed. Dr. Sunderson says she's been trying to reach them for quite some time. She informs Riley that they discovered a genetic anomaly in Ed's DNA, which is highly concerning. There's a confirmed high probability of inbreeding. The scene then cuts to Amelia removing her lashes. She prepares tea, adding the same chemical drops into one of the cups. Later, Ed enters his mother's room, where she is lying on her bed. She offers him the tea and compliments Riley, calling her a good girl. Ed says he has to leave for a few days. Amelia reassures him it's fine and insists he drink his tea. Meanwhile, Riley gets out of the car to open the garage gate properly and notices something stuck behind it. As she moves it aside, she discovers Vieira's dead body and is terrified.
You're still watching? Good. Like, comment, and subscribe to Recapss Horror.
She spots Manuel approaching with a knife and quickly hides with a shovel. At the same time, Ed begins feeling the effects of the chemical drops and lies down on his bed, drowsy. Manuel enters the garage and locks it, calling out for Riley. She suddenly attacks him with the shovel, trying to strike again, but Manuel grabs it and throws it away. He begins choking her when Riley grabs a hammer and strikes him, then escapes into another room and closes the door. Riley then enters Ed's room, who is actually Amelia in Riley's form, climbing on him, removing her clothes, and becoming intimate. Meanwhile, Riley finds a locked door in the basement. Luckily, she finds the key hanging there and unlocks it and goes inside, locking the door behind her. Manuel arrives and starts shouting, demanding that Riley open the door. Terrified, Riley notices someone inside the basement and becomes even more frightened. Manuel desperately tries to break the door open. Alarmed, Riley moves further inside, where she hears groaning. She screams and falls, then sees a very old man crawling and pleading for help. It's Arthur, whom Amelia had imprisoned in the basement. Just then, Manuel finally manages to break the door. Riley manages to reach the house through the basement and is shocked to see Amelia becoming intimate with Ed. She hides, watching, and then sees Amelia leave. Riley immediately goes to Ed, tries to wake him, and attempts to take him with her. At this moment, Manuel enters the house. Riley positions Ed in one spot and hides elsewhere. As Manuel approaches Ed, Riley attacks him with a hammer, causing him to fall from the first floor. Terrified, Riley grabs Ed and tries to flee. Amelia arrives in a panic, and Ed and Riley fall down the stairs. Amelia shouts as she reaches Manuel, who is still alive. At that moment, Amelia grabs a knife and rushes to attack Riley. Riley struggles to defend herself, but Amelia manages to injure her. In the scuffle, Riley grabs the knife with her hands, causing it to start bleeding. She screams in pain as Amelia continues trying to kill her, but Arthur suddenly pulls Amelia back. Riley cries in pain but manages to get up. Amelia repeatedly stabs Arthur, while Riley takes the opportunity to escape with Ed. Amelia continues brutally attacking Arthur, who holds on to her tightly. Riley gets Ed into the car, and they both flee, leaving the house behind. We then see Manuel, Arthur, and Amelia are left lying on the floor. Amelia regains consciousness, followed by Manuel. Amelia gently strokes Manuel's hair, and he softly calls her mommy. In the ending scene, Amelia appears young again, holding a baby boy, presumably Ed's. She gently dances with him before placing him in a crib and dancing alone for a while. Manuel then joins her, and they dance together. Amelia and Manuel share a kiss as the movie comes to an end. The two people who attempted to kidnap the baby at the start of the movie were Arthur and Vieira's daughter. However, Amelia caught Arthur and trapped him in the basement. Vieira's daughter, meanwhile, abandoned the baby and disappeared, and her whereabouts remain unknown. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the chills, hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a scare. Until next time, stay spooky.